Hey guys, welcome back to Beyond Dafeet. In this video we're going to be comparing the Saucony Triumph 18 to a few of its other competitors on the market. Your New Balance 1080 version 10, your Hoka Clifton 7, your Glycerin 18, as well as your Saucony Freedom 3. So this is Saucony's maximum cushion neutral shoe. So this does a full power run plus midsole, so you've got a 33 stack height going down to a 25. So it is running with that 8mm drop. Full XT900 carbon rubber, they're running the whole length of the outsole, so this is their carbon rubber. Very durable, it is still quite sticky, so they have gone away from that crystallized rubber and just having the carbon rubber in that crash pad, so they've just done a full length carbon rubber. So very durable outsole along with that midsole. With it being a thermoplastic, it doesn't get degraded in certain climates, so it doesn't kind of soften up in the heat or kind of get firm in the cold. It just stays the same consistency over the life of the shoe as well as the life of the runs. Moving on to the upper, so the Triumph 17 did have quite a bit more cushioning over it, and with the 18s they just have gone to a bit more of a slimmer fit. This does fit a slight bit big, so if you did take a 12 in the 17s, you may end up taking 11.5 in this. I do. I used to take that 12 on the 17s, and I have gone to that 11.5 in the 18s since they do fit that bit long. But yeah, nice round accommodating toe box, gusseted tongue so it's not going to slip anywhere, and just nice and padded around the whole foot. It's very forgiving shoes, so if you are coming back from injury or just want something you don't really feel any of the joints getting aches, the Triumph 18 will definitely do that for you. So firstly, comparing it to the Brooks Glycerin 18, both of these are great shoes by each brand. I think the Glycerin 18 comes in a slightly bit lighter, but looking at the outsoles, you've got basically the same kind of rubber from both brands. Both of them are carbon rubber, both high abrasive, and you're going to get about the same durability out of both. Probably going to push about 1,000 k's as far as the outsoles go. Nice flex grooves at the forefoot. You've got slightly bit more on the Glycerin. You have a slightly bit more stability coming on that outsole on that medial side of the forefoot in the Glycerin, so if you do slightly pronate on that forefoot, just guide you out through that gait cycle quite alright there. Both very good outsoles, can't really fault either of them. You got a slightly bit more of that guidance line on that Triumph 18, so if you are a bit more of that supinator, this just does guide you through that gait cycle a bit nicely. Look, moving on to the midsoles, so this does run with a 10mm drop on the Glycerin 18s, whereas your Triumph 17s is that 8mm. I think that 8mm is a bit more happy medium, so even if you are that heel striker, it's still quite a bit more pleasurable having that 8mm, and you've still got a lot of cushioning underneath that forefoot. With that 10mm, it does eliminate a bit of that forefoot cushioning, but that DNA Loft is a solid cushioning system by Brooks. It is their softest cushioning ever, but as far as that kind of softness goes, I would say the Triumph, you do sink into it a lot more. It does give you a bit more back as well. Not saying that the Glycerin isn't soft at all, but the Triumph just does sink into it a bit more. Durability wise, I'd probably say the Triumph over the life of the shoe, especially once you get past that 500 kilometre mark or even 300 miles, this will feel a bit better. Still kind of the same out of the box feeling compared to just the EVA that they do use in the Brooks, but both very good midsoles, durability wise as well as softness wise. I would say the Triumph 18 does hold up that bit better. Moving on to the uppers, so both very good uppers, slightly bit more breathable on the Glycerin 18, so if you do have a slightly hotter climate, I would say the Glycerin 18 does fit a bit better, as well as it's just going to breathe a bit better when it comes to a bit more humidity or even just hotter climates. With the Triumph 18, you do have a bit more cushion on that mid-step. It is a gusseted tongue as well as a Glycerin, and just a bit more kind of softness around the back of the foot as well as on that instep. Still nice and breathable on that toe box. Both of these do have quite accommodating toe boxes as well, so they are running with more of a round toe box, and they do come in a few different widths. So I think the Glycerin's a bit more accommodating if you do have a wider foot. It does come in a 2E and may end up coming in a 4E, but yeah, both nice round toe boxes. They probably do fit a half size bigger. I know the Triumph 18 does, but the Glycerin 18, yeah, you could probably either take true to size or it does fit a slightly bit bigger. But both very good shoes, can't really fault either of them. I'd think durability wise, and if you do want a slightly bit more of a softer shoe, something you do sink into a bit better, the Triumph 18 probably wins that. Comparing the Triumph down to the Freedom, so this is kind of the lighter weight version of this guy. You got the same midsole, this is just a 4mm drop, whereas you're looking at that 8mm for the Triumph. So a bit more of a tempo shoe. If you want something you do a bit of faster workouts in, and you get a bit more back compared to what you put down. Sometimes that Triumph can feel like it's a bit more of a marshmallow under the feet. You're kind of carrying around a bit of a bigger weight, whereas a Freedom, I've run quite a bit of in this, and it just does give you that snapback. Very durable outsole as well on both of these. You got that crystallized rubber that the Triumph used to use, so still quite sticky with that XT900 just bit in that forefoot, so you do feel like you're getting a bit of grip even in the wet. But yeah, both very durable outsoles. Looking at midsoles, so they both do use that Power Run Plus, so very durable. As I touched on before, it doesn't kind of disintegrate over the life of the shoe. You just do have quite a lighter package in that Freedom. So I think these come in around 230 grams, so whereas the Triumphs I think it's either kind of about that 300 grams or even 310, so it's quite a bit of difference in weight, so you're going to tick over the legs a lot quicker in the Freedom. As far as fit and feel goes, this does run true to size, so I take a 12 in this and a 11.5 in these guys. This is a slight bit more of a narrower toe box. It does taper in quite a bit more around on that big toe. It is quite a bit more breathable. You've got a lot less padding over the whole shoe. Still a nice kind of heel counter area. The collar is quite nice. It does grip on the heel quite alright. It does actually have a heel canter in this version. The Freedom 1 or 2 didn't. But yeah, very nice uppers on both. You just got quite a bit more forgiveness in these, so if you did want that shoe that does a bit more of those endurance runs, you want something to kind of do a bunch of Ks in, I would probably lean towards the Triumph more. It's a bit more accommodating for a lot more runners, since your Freedom 3 is quite a bit more flexible. It is basically made for that tempo day shoe, so you could probably actually have both of these in your rotation. These basically made for those endurance runs, those active recoveries, something you're building up to the race, and this can just be that speed workout. So yeah, can easily do a half marathon in this, even a full. You just need to be quite a bit more of an efficient runner if you want to do a full marathon in these. Yeah, both very good shoes. You could easily have both these in the rotation, as I just said. Now, comparing the Triumphs to the new Clifton 7, both of these are quite decent shoes, just kind of different makes when it comes to both brands. So as far as the outsole goes, you've got a bit more of an exposed foam in that Clifton. So durability wise, I've done about 2 Cliftons so far, and most of them have gone to that 800k mark. But you do see quite a lot of wear on that outsole and that lateral side, just near the start of the midfoot. But yeah, durability, you're going to get quite a bit more out of that Triumph 18. 800k is kind of, the shoe looks a bit tattered after that, whereas if you do about 800k's in the Triumph, the outsole will probably look a slightly bit similar compared to what it is now. With having not as much outsole in the Clifton does make the shoe a slightly bit lighter as well. So they just got a stock standard cushioned EVA, there's no fancy word for it, and they are running with a 5mm drop. I'm pretty sure it's a 29 to 24, so slightly bit less stack height in that Clifton, even though it does actually look like it's more, but your foot does actually sit down into that midsole as well. So it's got a bucket seat, acts as a slight bit more of a guidance system, not as stable as something like the Rahi that they do. It just guides you throughout the gait cycle quite nicely. As far as the Power Run Plus goes, you will sink into that a bit more. It's going to be a bit more durable over the life of the shoe. That's what the good thing is about that thermoplastic that most brands are going to. It's just the durability of the cushioning as far as that first in sink in feel goes. But yeah, if you are looking for that shoe that does a bit of everything, you want them to do endurance runs as well, even be light enough to do a bit more of a speed workout. I'd say that Clifton 7 does that. That's what I'm currently running in. I've only done about 50k's in it at the moment, but I'm loving it. And you can easily pick up the pace, even if you do a negative split endurance run, want to build the pace a bit later into the run, this shoe will definitely hold up. So it doesn't feel as you got as much underneath the foot as the Triumph 18. So yeah, both very good uppers as well. The Clifton hugged my foot a bit better, since it is quite a bit shallower throughout the whole foot. Both very breathable around that toe box area, and I would take the same size in both. So both of these I do take an 11.5. They do fit a slightly bit longer when it comes to that kind of true to size. But yeah, both nice heel counters as well. Got a bit more of that V shape on that Clifton 7, so if you do feel like you want something to hug your heel a bit more, I would just lean to that Clifton 7, since the Triumph 18 does have that bit more of a plusher feel. But yeah, both good shoes. If you do want something that does a bit of everything, I'd probably look at the Clifton 7. If you are looking for that, just that kind of high cushioned daily trainer, the Triumph 18 can easily do that as well. Comparing the Triumph 18 to the New Balance 1080 version 10. So both high stack heights, yeah, running with a 30 to 28 in the 1080, whereas you got a 33 to 25 in the Triumph 18. This does have an 8mm drop, so both running with that 8mm, whereas your New Balance does have that slightly more of a rocker sole, so kind of riding the bandwagon of what Hoka's doing, but just using their Fresh Foam X. Looking at the outsoles, similar kind of outsole on that 1080 version 10 that the Clifton's using, exposed foam on that lateral side, so I've done about 300k's in the 1080 version 10, and just seeing quite a bit of wear on that lateral side, but most of the shoe looks pretty good apart from that. So durability wise, Triumph 18 is going to get a bit longer out of that outsole since they are using carbon rubber the whole way through, whereas New Balance, they just got their endurance rubber in that heel spot as well as that toe-off spot. So just their higher abrasive areas, they just use that carbon rubber, and just in that midfoot it is their air blown. So slightly bit more cushioned underneath that forefoot with the air blown rubber. And with the outsole side, and moving on to the midsoles, the Fresh Foam X kind of experienced the need to soften up about that 80 Ks, and once you got to that 80 Ks it did kind of give you that nice pleasurable ride. And you do probably, I'd probably say you do sink into the Triumph a bit more. It does give you a bit more bounce back. But saying that, the Fresh Foam X that the New Balance do use is a very good cushioning system. Can't really go wrong with both of these. They just do offer a slightly different ride. And if you are someone that does heel strike, slightly smoother ride on that 1080 version 10, since it does incorporate that rocker sole. You just get onto that naked skate cycle quite a bit quickly. As far as the upper goes, I'd probably say the New Balance 1080 version 10's probably got one of the best uppers of this year. So they do use a nice elastic hypo knit. It's basically just a knit that's one layered, so very stretchy. It does accommodate a lot of foot types, and the midfoot lockdown on these are great. Quite a bit shallow and just has quite a nice elastic to it. Just molds to most feet nicely. With the Ultra Heel that New Balance do have, nice hugging around that ankle. I still do use the lock lace in this, but the overall lockdown of the midfoot as well as forefoot, you don't really get much heel slippage, since that both the other portions of your foot are quite nicely locked in. Then with the Triumph 18, I do take a half size down in this, since it does fit a bit longer. The upper's nice and breathable, still good midfoot lockdown with a full gusseted tongue, slightly bit more kind of that cushion feel over the top of the foot as well as around the heel counter. So slightly bit more plushness to this shoe. Just overall it's going to be nice and luxurious on the foot. But yeah, both very good shoes. Just durability wise, as far as that midsole goes, in the Triumph 18 you'll get a bit longer out of. That's basically it versing those 4 other models. If you do want us to go more in depth on any of those 4 models, let us know in the comments. Even if you want us to go a bit more in depth of something that we didn't even mention, like the even the Hoka Bondi 7, or even some of the Asics range, let us know in the comments. We can easily chuck a quick kind of 6-minute review comparing these guys to a few other things. But yeah, hit the subscribe button, do all that other jargon, and we'll see you in another video.